Okay, well, the vice chair sees a quorum, and I call the January meeting of the Urban Forestry Advisory Board to order. And the first item is the approval of the minutes. I have read them. The only problem I found was Kentuckia is spelled with a C rather than a K. So are there any other corrections to the minutes? And they will stand approved with that one correction. We would introduce new members, but there are no new members present, so we'll delay that until we have a new member here.
Done.
But we do need to elect a new chairman and a vice chairman. So I would entertain any motions about a chairman first.
I would suggest that Glenda be their chairman.
I will second that. Unless she has a fit, I second it.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations for chairman? All in favor of Glenda Patterson as our new chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let me introduce you to your new job. You
Okay.
ready for the next item on the agenda?
Okay.
And vice chair?
Who's, oh,
You're in charge now.
Oh, I see, you just, I get it.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Well, we have a new chairman.
That
Yes.
that was swift.
that was quick.
Have to watch out.
We will now take nominations for vice chair. Does anyone have any particular person in mind as vice chair? We're open, the floor is open for nominations.
So now that we have, if I can just jump in real quick, just wanted to let, so Aubrey, and we'll let him introduce himself in a second, but just wanted to let you know, step in, that we're discussing nomination of new chair and vice chair right now, and Glenda was just elected as the new chair of the board, and right now we're accepting nominations for vice chair. Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Vice chair.
I have a
You
call
wanna be
for
vice chair?
nominations. Do you have anyone in mind?
I would move that Malcolm Laval be vice chairman.
Vice chair.
Second.
All right.
Too late to back out.
Okay, we have a nomination that has been seconded for Malcolm Lavar as our vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, Malcolm Lavar is our new vice chair for the Urban Forestry Advisory Board.
And I think you two are the most senior members, except for me. So that's very appropriate.
Okay, all right, so, well, we have one new member, Aubrey Shepherd. Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Well, if you'll tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm really too old to be outside on my own. but Still got a driver's license, it's legal. But anyway, I have a couple of degrees in English and taught English in colleges for a few years, 7 different colleges. Served as outdoor editor for newspapers and did a lot of small magazine, took a lot of pictures of wildlife and outdoor things. So I'm now in my old age just doing the pictures and not the stuff that young guys do, the worst of winter.
Why urban forestry?
Well, I'm very interested in our tree canopy being what it should be. And I think what it still is, I don't know, we're losing it faster than we can replant them, aren't we? But anyway, all the things to do with the environment are important to me. And I just ended 5 years on the Environmental Action Committee.
Great.
And they sent me to you guys. And
Well, thank you for coming by.
I hope I can be of use.
I think so. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to, and we can kind of introduce ourselves to Aubrey maybe and just all go around the table?
Okay, I'm Glenda Patterson. As you know, I'm the new chair. But I'm a master gardener and master composter, and how I got into the urban forestry is just because being outdoors and hearing about it, I volunteered, and so here I am. I work at the VA,
That's great.
and I've been here since 2004. I'm originally from Louisiana.
Oh, I am too.
Yes,
She is.
Homa,
Okay.
down along the coast.
Excited about the new governor.
And I was born in Ruston.
Oh,
and grew up
okay.
in Shreveport, went to college at Louisiana Tech, and
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. A homie, okay.
well, that's good. That's the most people on a committee of 10, I think. So, it's great.
My name is Hank Thomas. I'm a landscape architecture firm. And, you know, I just try to be involved in what I can be, help out wherever I can, try to give a different perspective on things and try to look at developing the things that we want to do and put a scheme together to get those things done the best way possible. Always open to new ways of doing things and learning. You know, I've learned so much, you know, just being on here. Been on here for a year, I think, so far, and anything I can do to be involved, you know, within the city has been great. So that's kind of what I do.
And my name is Derek Lynn. I'm one of 2 staff liaisons for the Urban Forestry Advisory Board. Have been on in the Parks Department in urban forestry for a little under 4 years now, and it's a pleasure to work with the board and the members on a regular basis. The board is set up to advise city council on urban forestry issues and interests, and I'm really pumped that we now have a kind of a template set up to where you all have an opportunity to present those thoughts on about an annual basis now, and you're also here to provide support and advice to staff. So we appreciate the opportunity to meet with you all on a monthly basis. And my background is in landscape architecture, and I'm trying to think of my Louisiana connection, since we're talking about Louisiana. And I think the most appropriate thing I can say is that I worked with the National Park Service in Natchitoches for almost a year, about 8 months down there, and had a wonderful time exploring the historic fabric of that city. And I was focused on cultural and historic landscape research, which is kind of a facet of landscape architecture that I'm really interested in. So anyway, with that, keep it going. Thanks, guys.
I'm John Scott, the other urban forester. I have a similar background as Derek, landscape architect, and I also have a master's in regional community planning. And I think one thing here that binds us all together is our passion for environmental stewardship, and I'm glad to have you aboard because I know that's something we all share a common bond with. And I have no connection to Louisiana except for I went to New Orleans when I was a kid, and all I remember is it smelled like beer and puke.
Well, you're in the wrong place, but
That's my fond memories.
Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get to go to Audubon Park.
Yeah, then ride the streetcar down St. Charles Avenue.
I don't remember
To the
doing
Garden
that good
District.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back, and I think there's an ASLA conference, so
Oh, you'll have
hopefully
to.
I can go back. And that's going to be in the fall. I'm also involved with ASLA with Hank.
I'm Sue Madison. This is my last year on the board, and I will tell you that I've learned a lot more than I've contributed. It's been really a humbling experience in many ways because I thought I was going to know a lot. I have a master's degree in botany from LSU. And my husband and I have rental property here in Fayetteville. I'm a master gardener and belong to several garden clubs.
And I'm Malcolm Lavoie. I got my degree up here in agronomy, and I used to work for USDA trying to prevent invasives from coming into the country, and learned most of my plants when I was working down at Fort Chaffee, doing a plant survey down there. Yeah, I'm interested in helping out the city if I can. This is my last year, I believe, too.
Uh-oh.
I think you have another
I don't get to speak again, so.
Damon, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Damon Lipinski. I'm a pediatric neuropsychologist, but my bachelor's degree is in forestry, so this is a way that I can express that side of things and be able to kind of keep my fingers in that interest. This is I'm starting my second year here, so I'm on one cycle. I don't know what the New Orleans connection thing here. The Louisiana connection. I'm actually going to be riding in a Mardi Gras parade in 3 weeks, actually. So
Oh, where? Where?
Yeah, I forgot to say that my dad was
in New Orleans.
Oh, which one?
Crew of Tux.
Uh-huh, okay. No, I went to college in New Orleans, so, yeah.
She's from Homa and Aubrey's from Ruston. Is that what you said?
Mhm. That's how I got
Okay. Ah, that's
started.
right.
He said,
Yeah, actually, my father was born in Thibodeau.
Thibodeau? You kidding? That's like Fayetteville and Springdale.
My family is from Amite, the home of the new governor.
Yes.
Okay, PowerPoint should have made it where you can read your presenter's notes. I'll try. Okay, I had agreed to talk about Halesia. There are 2 species of Halesia native to southeastern U.S. It is a small tree to shrub, and this is a picture of the flowers. Halesia diptera is the 2-winged silver bell. That is in reference to the seeds, and it is sometimes called snowdrop. There is one selection of Halesia diptera that's magniflora that does have a larger flower. Halesia carolina is called silver bell, and its seed has 4 wings on it. In Carl Hunter's book, he references Halesia tetraptera, a subspecies monocola referring to mountain, and apparently there's a lot of graduations in characteristics among Halesia carolina, and some people are still clinging to the tetraptera species, but it is deciduous. The leaves are alternate and elliptical, 2 to 7 inches long. The flowers are white. There is a variety that has pale pink flowers sometimes. They're waxy, and the stamens are in a cluster in the middle. It usually blooms in the spring about the same time as dogwoods. Carolina grows taller than diptera. They both tend to be a little shrubby, but both can be trained to be a small tree. And it is hardy from zones 5 to 8, and we're zone 6. There's a close-up of the flower. It is difficult to propagate. The seeds have a double dormancy. They need a good cold spell, followed by a warm spell, followed by another cold spell. And I talked to my aunt with the nursery that is my native plant expert, and she has mastered the growing of it from seeds, but she said in the early days of her nursery, my great aunt had Halesia diptera, the snowbell, growing in her swamp, and she would go down and dig up the seedlings and bring it to my aunt. She's never been successful rooting softwood cuttings. The literature says it can be rooted with softwood cuttings. My aunt never has, and she could root a chopstick. So I'm doubtful about these softwood cuttings. And I have finally figured out what these maps mean. This is the Biota of North America map. The green means the species is found in the state, it doesn't mean it's found in all those counties. The green, the lighter green, is where it's actually found, and the little orange is that one county in Arkansas where Halesia diptera is found, which means it's rare there. And I've forgotten what the yellow means. But this is the distribution of the snowbell, Halesia diptera. There's one county up in Missouri. This is from the Vascular Plant Atlas of Arkansas, showing the distribution in Arkansas. I had 3 scanners at my house, and I had fits with all 3 scanners. I finally scanned this with my phone, so that's why it's not a very good image. But Aubrey, in case you don't know, this book is recently published that is all these maps throughout it of the plants of Arkansas. That's very, very helpful, and staff does have a copy, right? Okay. This is Halesia diptera magniflora, the one with the slightly bigger flowers. And it really is quite striking in the landscape. Now, Halesia carolina, this is its distribution in Arkansas, and you can see it's much more common than the snowbell. This is silverbell. Ironically, it won't grow in Louisiana. My aunt says she cannot grow it. They both are sort of swampy plants, so you'd think. There's the distribution of the larger growing, more tree-like Halesia carolina. And there is an example of Halesia carolina in bloom. You see it is a little bit more tree-like, up to about 40 feet. And it really has quite a dramatic floral display, and in a woodland setting, almost is like a fairyland with the beautiful white flowers floating around. And the seeds, this is Carolina. The seeds on the left and the drooping pendant flowers. And this last picture is in honor of our recent past chairman, Don Steinkraus, who would be happy to know that the swallowtail butterfly appreciates Halesia. And that's all I have.
So do we have any around here of any of those species that you can tell us were
Growing locally, I don't know of any. And there are not many nurseries that are growing it.
Okay.
Yeah, that belongs to you. I might have one in my yard. I get
Where's the plug into this?
the Halesias and the Styrex confused, so I thought my next presentation after the election might be on Styrex, because I need to learn.
Pull the
that.
HDMI out of that, I'm pretty sure.
What are you reading? Signal?
Mm-hmm.
Keep
This?
in
Thank
the
you.
StarTech, in that HDMI cable. Maybe. Isn't that an adapter?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can say something, Madam Chairman,
Yes?
I want to make an apology because I didn't know that your meeting on the Monarch would be a small group or a small room.
No, that's okay.
So,
I'll speak about it here in a second. We
Yeah.
can talk about the group.
I prepared a little something different. It's not about a species, but it's called Shinrin Yoku. It's called forest bathing. It's a relatively newer concept. It came around in the 80s, and we had an intern, Casey Lewis, who was working for us, and he come across this and put it in a web presentation we were working on, and I just was like, that's very interesting, and he went ahead and followed up on it, so he wrote us a pretty good article. And he starts the article by talking about how we spend a lot of time in front of computers, and it's a very stressful environment. And one of the surprising things that we found is that actually being in the forest and absorbing your time and focusing on your senses while you're in the forest is a natural way to de-stress and lower your anxiety, lower your blood pressure and everything. And there's scientific data that backs it up. And there's a chemical called phytoncides, and the phytoncides are an actual natural stress reducer, blood pressure reducer, anxiety reducer. So it's kind of a cool concept, and I enjoyed it, and I thought you guys would enjoy it as well. It's just spend time in nature and let it enter one's body through all 5 senses, no distractions, and taking the time to do this is going to lead to a relaxed state and increased happiness. And there's a professor in Japan who studied this, and he did research and found the phytoncides, and then breathing the organic compounds from the phytoncides was contributing to the increased relaxation and lower stress. So a leisure stroll in the woods is going to decrease your stress and help your blood pressure and heart rate. And he did a study where he had participants who did report better moods when they were in the woods and lower anxiety rates.
I need to send my husband to
Yeah, I know. I just thought the whole concept of forest bathing in Shinrin-yoku was an interesting one to share with you all. And, you know, we have a lot of local parks, and that's kind of another aspect to our local park system and urban forestry to consider. It's actually scientifically proven that it does reduce your stress levels and is a healthy way to relax.
That's why my aunt is 93, maybe.
Maybe. She's around all those phytoncides. And that's my short presentation.
Good.
Thank
So
you.
these are chemicals that the plants are putting out?
It's an organic compound, yes.
Yeah, they're naturally volatile compounds that are
Yes.
being released from most vegetation, actually. And so this is just some research that is kind of putting some quantitative data to, if you've ever felt good being in the woods, it's kind of saying, well, maybe there's some scientific evidence behind that, actually. So, and so
Yep.
we're going to actually kind of wrap some of this, like John was saying, into probably something that ends up on the web and throughout some other outreach that we do at the city. So anyway, you're just seeing sort of a
Little blurb.
snapshot
I like
blurb of
that.
it today. So
Joy.
just wanted to share that.
Shinrin-yoku.
Did any of the data indicate how often you need to do this, or how long to derive any benefit, or is it just the fact that you just go there and just any time you spend whenever is a benefit? It doesn't have to be cumulative.
No, it didn't. I didn't get that from the research, and I don't think Casey did. My other question immediately from the research was, well, are there certain trees that produce more phytoncides than other trees? So, I mean, it's a kind of a new field. He's been researching it since the 80s, which that is kind of relatively new in terms of kind of research, but it'd be interesting to find out more as how do they even measure it, and you know, which trees produce more than others. Because, you know, like a pine forest might have more relaxation to it than, you know, a cedar glade or something. That'd be interesting to know.
Well, if you set a schedule to do it, that's stressful, so.
Good point.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Just let it naturally
Just-
happen.
Yeah, just naturally go to the forest.
Maybe I'll be there, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay, next on the,
Just go ahead
You
with
want me to
his
go ahead
report.
now? Okay.
Yep. So, Glenda, if you're okay with us jumping down to number 5, Leaf's gonna hop in here and
No, that's fine.
present something from
Hi.
staff.
I'm Leif Olson. I'm in the Sustainability Department. I'm a planner in the Sustainability Department. And you all have received an email to attend a monarch butterfly workshop. I think I sent it out a couple days ago. Some of you responded. I know Sue and Malcolm. You guys will be there. So this is going to be put on by the National Wildlife Federation. I attended a similar workshop in Conway in November, and so they wanted to come to Fayetteville and do kind of a similar thing. It's going to be a little bit shorter. We're going to be kind of crunch it into a 4-hour time period just so we can respect everybody's time and schedule. But really, the crux of the matter is that 20 years ago, there were 1 billion eastern monarch butterflies migrating to Mexico. In the winter of 2014, only 60 million made the trip. So that's a decline of 90% in the past 2 decades. Most of that is attributed to degradation of their summer breeding habitat in the U.S., especially in the upper Midwest, and a loss of their winter habitat in Mexico. And so the National Wildlife Foundation, everybody is trying to produce monarch butterfly habitat so that the monarch butterfly won't go on the endangered species list. And so the goal is really to keep the monarch butterfly population decline from putting them into the endangered species list. And so this workshop that you're invited to is really going to be, we're trying to get, all the folks that have an interest in pollinators or pollinating plants, and specifically in milkweed and monarch habitat, to attend this workshop, and we're going to try to come up with some local initiatives, things we can do. It's a limited space. It's going to be a workshop type environment where we'll put 8 or 10 people around a table and we'll brainstorm actions or policies that we could take. And so I've invited this board, I've invited the Environmental Action Committee, I've invited the City Council, people from the administration, people from Parks and Rec, Sustainability, people from land trusts, master gardeners, a bunch of different people, different backgrounds, that are all Fayetteville centric, and we'll get together on the 26th, and we'll do this workshop. So I just wanted to come here today. John reminded me that you all were meeting, and just invite you all personally. If you know people that are interested and did not get invited, by no means could I like come up with everybody. Like I forgot to invite Don Steinkraus, and he emailed me. I was like, Don, how could I forget to invite you? It's because he came off of this board, and so he wasn't in that, when I was putting it together, and it was just, and I was like, absolutely, you got to be there, Don. If you know people that are interested and you talk to them and they didn't get an invitation, please get with me. But it is by invitation only, because we're going to be limited to about, to get this done in 4 hours, you're going to have a group of about 50, maybe 60 tops, and I've invited like 70 people so far. Now, I do anticipate that, a lot of people are going to have scheduling conflicts. They're not going to be able to come, and so I've freed up some space. I know I was in contact with Sue, and you had some folks, which is good. I invited those folks that you knew would be interested from your master gardening. So please, if you talk to somebody and they're really into it and they didn't get invited, just get with me and we can work it in. I think we just can't put it out there for everybody to come, because it's not that kind of, it's a real hands-on type thing. It's not like a lecture or something. So by all means, please get back with me. I'd love to see you all there. I know a number of you have already RSVP'd. We'll have some coffee and some snacks, and we'll run through it pretty quickly, but it should be really good. So hopefully we'll get a lot of good ideas out of that. The mayor has signed the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. He will read a proclamation at that meeting, and the city staff is really, folks in our Parks Department are really into it. So this is really about how do we increase habitat for monarch butterflies. I kind of knew about monarch butterflies, but I didn't know, that they go through 4 generations before they do the big migration back. And so we aren't the last, where we're in their flight path up into the upper Midwest, into their summer breeding grounds for that 4th generation, and we're in the flight path back. So they need milkweed to sustain the generations as they go north in the spring, and then they need nectar-producing plants to sustain their migration back to Mexico in the fall. And so the life cycle of the monarch butterfly is fascinating. and the National Wildlife Federation. We'll kind of give a brief background like that, and then we'll really try to drill down into some things that we can do, what master gardeners can do, what, plants we could plant, stuff that parks could do on some of our public lands to create better monarch habitat. So,
There is a big grant that I think it's Fish and Wildlife started late last year. Don knew all the details on
Yeah,
it because our
Fish-
church kind of threw together a proposal at the last minute, but it's $250,000 and up, I think.
I know there's a lot of partners
Yeah. But we might see if the city could
working
apply for
on
it.
this project. There was a bunch of, I think the grant, they talked about that in Conway, and I think what happened is all that money is going to Michigan and Wisconsin
Well, Don
and
said that
Illinois.
nobody in Arkansas got money
Yeah, I don't
last
think,
year.
I don't think Arkansas made
But we're
the,
in the flyway.
we're in the flyway, but they're looking for that fourth generation. They're really looking for the habitat, that summer breeding
Very nice.
grounds in the upper Midwest. So I think that's where that's where the bulk of the resources are going. But people lobbied the National Wildlife Foundation at our meeting in Conway to get Arkansas included in that. And so, the next year's grant cycle, maybe that'll happen. But, yeah, all great points. You'll learn a lot of stuff, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of expertise, local expertise that we can tap into too. So hopefully we come up and brainstorm some great ideas that we can do here in Fayetteville to move this forward.
It'd really be nice if government channel could
Oh, yeah.
record a lot of it.
We'll have it recorded.
You will?
Yeah, mhm.
Great.
Derek, didn't we do something about encouraging the mayor's office on the milkweeds for monarchs beds maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, well, John's actually going to, I think, speak to that here in a minute regarding our medians that we're planting trees in. So we've kind of been working it from that.
But we had
angle.
this board did a recommendation, or,
You may have at one of your previous State of the Urban Forest reports. Is that what you're thinking?
I thought we'd sent it.
And then you guys did something I know related to, I
It's like
think.
St. Louis was doing with their meter, square meter beds, the milkweeds for monarchs beds.
I remember a letter of recommendation that you guys may have put together for an effort that your church, what you and Don's church was involved in?
This was before that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Anyway, please come, get back with me to RSVP. I'm keeping a running spreadsheet going of people that can come and people that can't, and I'm adding people on as people contact me and tell me I forgot somebody that really needs to be there. And so, we're trying to be really flexible about it, but we're trying to keep it to where we've got the people that really have an interest and have the ability to go out and do something in the community, so we get them all there. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You all have a great evening.
Sure.
So we had brief updates from the staff
Yeah.
on the annual report.
We're still, I think we're still at number 5, and John's going to provide the next item here.
In your packet, for the agenda, we have the cost of medians planting, and I had talked about this previously. I'll give you a brief background on it. I did a cost analysis on planting native plants versus the sod we plant in our medians, especially on Garland and College and 265. I picked up where I think Hank had done some research and Ken had done some research, and I come up with the numbers that showed economically it is more viable for us to use native plantings than it is for us to use sod in the medians. And I used Garland Avenue as the example, and the annual maintenance cost for sod on Garland Avenue is $2,678, and the maintenance for native planting is $672. There's a big difference. The installation is a little more expensive when you do a native planting than it is when you plant sod. Sod's cheaper at
Why
the
would that be?
beginning. It's seeded, they can go and spray it, sod farms a lot more. And then,
Yeah, but we we've got so many prairies with so much native planting there that we can get seeds to plant those. You wouldn't have to ever buy any seeds to do it.
Well,
you gotta have a
if somebody's
crew
going to
to go
donate
out
them, but
and
when you're
plant.
doing a cost analysis, you do have to
You gotta have
show a
yeah,
purchase
yeah.
of
Well, I'll
the
be
seeds.
quiet about that. Let's say they're
Yeah.
still cheap.
Yeah, I agree. And so I did this research, and a grant opportunity came across my desk recently from the Arkansas Forest Advisory. Is that no Arkansas Forest Commission?
Arkansas Forest Commission, and they have a, it's called an Urban and Community Forestry Grant.
Grant.
And so, kind of what we're, yeah, that's what we're looking for as far as just sort of a new funding source that we hadn't seen previously. So we're excited about that opportunity to potentially apply for that. So
So we're going to apply for that and run 2 test pilot areas on Garland Avenue and in College. I'm working on that right now. And then what we're planting, milkweed will be is going to be the biggest plant that we do. We're using Virginia sweetspire, asters, and milkweed. So we wanted a good native planting in those median strips. And so I spoke with the mayor and Don Marr, and they were on board, and they're all for it. Part of the grant process is approval from a UFAB would be our ideal to have that recommendation.
I move that we approve the application of the urban forestry staff for the what grant?
Grant.
Forest,
Yeah.
Urban and Community Forest Grant.
Urban and Forestry Community Grant.
What's our signage package gonna be for that, as far as the initial installation? Because I think that's where we have to address that first, as far as
Signage?
signage telling the community what we're doing. Because if
We
we
did talk
don't,
about
then
that.
then it's gonna fail. I mean, and I'm not trying to be
No,
pessimistic.
I agree. We all agree.
Because it's
The
gonna be,
education is-
look at
Right.
the trash that we're not mowing in the
Exactly.
yards. You know, and so I think that's as important as anything else that we're doing in the situation. So I just did, that was my question.
There, with this would come press releases with educational components about what we're doing. We kind of wanted to use College Avenue as more of a display garden on what the potential of Garland is going to look like. We
Right.
would seed Garland and we'd plant with like small 1 gallons College so that it's pretty full immediately.
Right.
There's not that lag period. And then the signage would be pretty simple, butterfly habitat, and, you know, with the press releases, we can't put like a plaque that says, you
No.
know, a paragraph. It would have to be really, you know, like a butterfly habitat. And then-
Yeah. Fayetteville being responsible.
Yeah,
for it or something.
and, you know, a couple of just small ones that can be read at 30 miles an hour.
Bear with us.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the other part too, is we have to say, look, this is not gonna be perfect right now.
Right.
You know, you have to give us some leeway in the situation, you know, that it's gonna take a little bit to
Right.
establish.
And that way, you know, with having 2 pieces, one of them College, you can see what it's going to look like eventually. And then, you know, with Garland. And then we chose College because it is our high profile area. And then Garland because it's not as high profile. So that was our reasoning on that. But
Where is the
education-
median on College?
What's that?
Where's
Oh, it's
that?
that little median by the the old IGA and in front of the Fayetteville
Right
Weekly.
by
Between
Dixon,
and Lafayette, it's
right.
really small. Yep.
There's 2 medians.
where the trees
Stretches.
are.
I'm
Really
just thinking
small.
of what's in there
They had the
now.
tulips, there in the spring,
Okay.
and then they kind of die off, and then it's kind of there.
Yeah.
That's a great point, though, Hank. We'll probably need to include of course, a press release doesn't cost staff any money
Right.
to get that out. But if we want to put a physical sign at either end of that median in the field, we do need to kind of include
Right.
that in the proposal.
We
So-
definitely will include that.
And do we have like a yearly or a time frame in which the seeds will create the establishment? Because we are going to get like the weeds and, you know, that's the one thing that I've had the hardest time with is everybody's like, oh, just go put wildflower seeds out there. It'll be great. And it's not. It's crap for like 6 years. You know, and so that's what.
Well, we're hoping it's not
Well,
6 years.
but you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Our
it's-
time frame, in our mind, we figure we'll get a good, you know, it'll look bad that first year.
Right.
By the end of the second year, we'd like it to be full.
Right.
And then that third year, it's, you know, golden.
Because I know
That would be our ideal time frame.
what I've done in the past a little bit is in the second year, there was a little bit of maintenance as far as, you know, a little bit of invasive weed pulling, you know, stuff that's really coming in to take over and kind of, so we figured that a little bit into the cost of maintenance, and so that maintenance cost wasn't, you know, direct. It had a little bit of curve at the first because there was that initial cost to keep
Right.
plant materials and stuff out, you know, so that's the only thing.
That's a concern with us.
Yeah.
That's definitely in our thoughts on how that works as well.
Because I love the native look, I love the Malay native prairie, and it's great. It's just making that first couple of years of people griping that we got to do to get to where we want to be. And I just want to make sure that we're prepared for that and prepared for the phone calls and all that
Right.
stuff. And if we can limit those
Agreed.
by a simple, bear with us, we're trying to make a better environment and cut the 5 phone calls down to 1
Yeah.
to y'all, because, you know, that's what it's about.
To put Derek's phone number on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, not a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I
Cell
think the
phone.
city administration has got a lot of complaints about crossover. You know, I mean, it's kind of weedy looking, the trees have,
Yeah, that's another
A
good,
little-
that's another
Yeah, we do
point
get
is when
complaints
we,
already.
Just takes
when we
time.
take on more sod than we can reasonably mow in a summer, then we get complaints about that as well. So, one thing that is worth noting about the medians on College, I know we do, I think we currently, I've seen crew members out there, we currently have people physically in that median pulling weeds out. So we'll take a look at how much of that we can utilize with this new proposal, and then if we need to add in some extra on the itemized, then we can probably do that through the.
It may be less than what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying. And
Right.
it may be a one-time thing in the fall, or it may be a one-time thing in the spring. I just know we had that situation, and so it was like, it was a one-time deal, or twice, I think, and we just went in and cleaned out. The other part is you have to have someone knowledgeable enough to go in and clean out the right thing,
Right.
which,
Yeah.
you know, it takes a little bit of time,
Yeah.
but, you know, it just helps with that establishment.
Yeah.
That's my only.
John, did you bring that planting plan draft that you had
Worked on
for College?
I did not.
Nope. Okay.
I'm working on the
Okay.
planting plans for it.
You know, the winners of the one of the landscape awards this year, I think Joe Woolbright said it took him 2 years to get that meadow out there at the church. I think he said it was 2 years to get that into shape, and that looked really good just after a couple of years. So apparently, if you know what you're doing, you can make it come out pretty fast.
But that's 2 years. You know, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's.
Well, that's kind of our timeline
Right.
too. I am aware that it's not going to look good that
Right.
first year, and I think everybody is aware it's not.
I think we're all aware.
Yeah.
The other people that aren't.
It's the public that I guess we have to make sure that the public is
Is
aware.
aware.
Yeah, that this is, you know, going to be a test pilot project, and it's it's saving taxpayers.
It's saving money.
I mean, the
it's
benefits
less
on it.
hazardous.
It's less
Seems like there
hazardous,
wasn't.
yeah.
Didn't you
That's
have a
right.
list of?
Yeah, we do have that as a part of the overall proposal is a look at safety. It's especially on these high-speed roadways like crossover. It doesn't feel all that great to stand out in one of those or to be in charge of or maintenance in those spaces. So we're looking at over time. John, you can probably have this
Yeah.
clarified better than I do regarding the safety, but less visits out to the median, so
Right.
it's safer.
After
overall.
a good establishment, what I factored would be like 4 visits a year. That's a lot of litter cleanup, maybe a weed eating of the whole thing in the middle of the winter, which won't hurt it at all. Just clean it up and, organize it a little bit, which would look as good as the sod does in the middle of the winter, so.
And I'm sure you are we looking at like, the triangles, the visual triangles, or the turning into those, from car triangle?
Yeah, I have
That-
the smaller asters. Right
Okay, that's
where
what I was-
that
that's what I
stuff
was-
is done, and it's the Alpinus variety, and it's a smaller one,
That's what,
1 foot tall.
I knew you were.
And
I just
was-
asked a question.
Yeah, I thought about that. No,
I
good
was like,
point.
it's like, oh, someone,
Yeah.
turns in front of another car because the black-eyed Susans.
Yeah.
It's the city's fault, you know.
Yeah, I saw his draft today. Looks really, really great. I mean, it like you say, like at those at the edges and the intersections,
Yeah.
it starts with low stuff, and then it kind of ramps up to where the trees are in the middle, and then takes those things into consideration. So,
Okay.
You still need a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that Urban Forestry endorses the staff's application for
Great.
the grant.
I'll second
Any
it.
second? Okay. All opposed?
Aye.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I always do it backwards.
so did someone oppose? Did we have opposite?
No.
Oh,
No, no.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thought you-
Madam Chairman, I would really like to see this included in
In the annual city
report
report?
for
Yeah.
what we always kind of talk about our vision or what we want next, and I would like to see this in that annual report to the city board, that this
Okay.
is another goal.
Who does the slides and everything for that?
I don't think that has to be a motion because we're actually, unless you want to, but because we're like another item on this agenda is that we're looking for feedback from you guys regarding that report. So we'll
Well, we can just jump to
jot that
right?
down.
Number 6?
I think so, unless there's anything else, John, on medians.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, next on the agenda is the annual report to city council. And we were all sent an email of last year's presentation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Question I have is who gives the report?
One of you board members typically gives the report. So it's kind of set up to where, in general, you guys will give us feedback as to what you want this to look like, and then we'll use staff computers and resources back at the office to make that happen, and then get it to speaker in advance so that whichever of you wants to give the report will have that and can prepare for that.
When is the meeting this year?
We don't have a firm date identified yet, but it'll happen at one of the city council meetings, which are always on Tuesday evening, Tuesday
It's
night.
usually an agenda session, not
Okay.
Right. So it'll happen upstairs in room 3. It's right above this, but on the third floor.
And what
Didn't we
time
end
of
up
day?
kind of late last year? Was it maybe March or?
I think we're February, March, something like that. So
Well, I didn't read it, I'm sorry, I haven't read it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I read it. It sounded good. I had a question on the escrow tree planting projects. What does escrow tree planting project mean?
okay. So kind of in a nutshell, through John and I, through the urban forestry position role, we review proposed development for tree preservation and landscape requirements. And when a development falls below their minimum amount that shall be preserved per the zoning of that property, there's a couple different ways that the developer can mitigate for the lost canopy. And this is one of the methods in which it's basically a money in lieu of planting trees. And so through this special escrow account, we take money from trees through development projects and then go back into the community as near to the work site as possible and plant them as street trees in the city. And the city actually takes on that role and coordinates that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did,
So this
did that do the plantings along MLK just past Razorback?
MLK just
Where Charlie's Chicken used to be or something? There's a lot of new planting there.
Oh.
That's really nice.
That's actually a U of A,
Yeah, I think U of A did.
project. Yep. On the north side of MLK.
Yeah.
Yep. They acquired those lots, and I heard from the consultant who was working with them a month or so ago, and he was telling me about planting plans that he was preparing for that. And I'm pretty sure if we're talking about the same, I think we are.
Close.
That's U of A. Yep.
Did they buy Brenda's Bigger Burger too?
I don't know. I'm not sure about
Probably.
The U of A did buy Brenda's Bigger Burger, and they're gonna put a arts and cultural something another center there.
Brenda's Bigger Burger was arts and cultural.
Yes.
It was.
Tasty.
But they closed like in 2012, and
Yeah.
so. it
Well,
was
that's
just a
because the
vacant
city
building.
authorized the come and go to go in the next, across the street. It totally ruined their business.
Yeah, the ambiance changed with the come and go.
Yeah. Okay,
World's
well,
taking
thanks.
back.
So it's in essence, the developer pays a fine for not putting up enough trees in a timely fashion, and then we use that money to put trees in instead.
In a
Call it a
nutshell,
fine.
yeah, we wouldn't necessarily call it a fine, but it's just one of the options allowed by code in which they mitigate for lost canopy, replace what they cut down, and it's actually of the options, it's the least desirable per the perspective of code and staff, just because it actually puts the burden back on City of Fayetteville to go out into the community and kind of take care of this private
Concern.
development tree concern, but it's an option that made the tree ordinance successful in the first place, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Okay. The current members will be revised?
That's correct.
Okay, the median and Greg, was it? Or which street did we just,
Garland.
Garland, yeah. I get those two mixed up.
I do too.
Anyway, is there going to be watering done on this?
When we do the initial installation, we're going to monitor them and water if necessary. After establishment of like a month, 2 months, no, we're gonna let them fend. Because that's another part of that program, is having that water conservation, picking drought tolerant species that can handle that heat and that hotness, and that's part of it as well. We want species to be able to thrive on their own without having to take care of them.
Tuberosa.
And all the other 11 species of milkweed that are in Fayetteville, if you can get them. I can get you seeds for most any summer, any spring, summer, wherever, lots of species. So, wonder what the quality of the soil is that is in the median.
In which median?
In the median that this is going to, test is going to be done.
At the, are we talking about the College Ave median?
Or either one.
I think the
whichever
College
one.
Avenue is pretty decent soil. They've mulched it forever, and people have planted different stuff in there, so I think that's a good condition. The one out on Garland, I would suspect after like an inch or two, you're gonna get clay and typical native Arkansas, not so great soil.
Yeah.
Construction, yeah, I suspect it might have been.
One of the dream things I have is that we finally get around to collecting all the black dirt that's removed off the prairies for housing projects. And they put in red dirt and pave over it and build a house. Now you've got no absorbent soil. But you could see truckloads leave Fayetteville and go out into the Ozarks to some farmer's place where he's got a gully and just dump that black, rich prairie soil in there. And of course, that means you're dumping the wildflower roots left in there and the remainder of seeds in there and so forth. So I don't know where all the places, but over the years I've developed a habit of following trucks that had just been loaded with black dirt in our city. And they'd go way off down to the west, to the southeast, south, and southwest. And there was one in particular that the gully they were dumping it into was very steep and deep, like we have out in the higher elevations. And there were these mature trees in the gully. It wasn't cleared out. They just
They're
kept
dumping
dumping the dirt. And that, of course, killed the trees. And I never go back to look at those places, but it's kind of rent a dump site.
It would sound like something we could put as part of our plan for the future to look into. And
Yeah,
see if we
I
could-
think it's-
If we could do something with that.
I think that's a good point
Have a
because
place to bank it.
Yeah.
this presentation doesn't have to be, here's our solution to everything. It can be, we're concerned about this. And so if one of you would like to put that into a, like a little bullet point paragraph of how we could insert that into the presentation, we could take that and adapt that into the presentation and see if you guys are comfy with how it looks in there. So,
I have a question for monthly plant presentations at board meetings. It sounds like we just give this talk, to ourselves, but shouldn't we have something on this slide about its availability to the public? Because aren't we supposed to help educate? And
Do we know?
is there something we could put on the slide about the presentations are available on video and how they are available to the public? I know they are, but I don't know how they are.
3 days.
And that's also something that we're doing for education. Is something we are having fun doing, but also so it doesn't look like we come in and we give ourselves a talk and then that's it. Okay.
yeah, I think that's a great idea. We can,
Or-
what slide is
yeah.
that on?
Monthly plant presentations at board meetings.
Oh, yeah, they're not.
Which
numbered, are they?
number it is, I don't know. I didn't count, sorry.
That's something we probably should link to our website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
emailed
these,
this one to Tyrone, but I don't know if it fit or I don't know how it works.
you emailed your presentation today?
PowerPoint.
Yeah, okay,
To Tyrone.
yeah.
We probably got it on the air.
Which is something this whole meeting is available online in about a week, probably, via the city's website. You can look at all the public meetings on there. We had talked about taking the snippet of just your plant presentation and sort of pulling that out and making it its own. And we got a couple of samples from the IT television government channel folks about what that could look like. And I think as long as we should receive if you guys could, thanks for emailing yours over. We need to make note, sort of as a standard moving forward, whoever's giving the plant presentation, if you would, a couple days prior to the meeting, email your PDF, your PowerPoint to staff, and then we'll send that over to that department, and we can ensure that those can be separated out from your overall meeting. And I think that'll make it more accessible and easy to view from the
Right.
public
For the
perspective.
public
I have to do it a couple days in advance.
What's that?
I have to put it together a couple days in advance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the night before.
It's okay. No,
We
Okay.
still need Jeremy to do his thing on volcano mulches or whatever. That was one of the best ones
Yeah.
we've had.
This is your new advocate of volcano mulch right here.
We'll get with
Well-
Jeremy, because he had a
Jeremy Pate?
Williams, the tree climber. He's quit coming to our meetings.
Oh, I know Jeremy. Yeah.
And does the Firewise, does our involvement in Firewise count as part of the Urban Forestry Advisory Boards going on or whatever?
Mm-hmm. It is.
I didn't see it mentioned
Okay.
in here.
Should that be added?
Yes, that's my question is.
Okay.
Because they seem to come around every year
Mhm.
and talk to us and tell us and invite us to do stuff, so that's one way of showing that we're not just sitting here looking at ourselves going, oh, you can see it again.
Yeah. So and we'll we can talk about that more at the next meet. This is off topic, but it just reminds me. At the next meeting, we have another new member, Russell Dye, who's planning to be with us all at February, and so we'll do at that next meeting. Whenever we have new board members, we like to do a little orientation with you all, and so we'll send that document out, and then we can discuss any questions you might have at the February meeting. And I just thought to say that because it actually clarifies sort of your role sitting as the Firewise Advisory Board in that discussion that we'll have next month and
Okay.
that orientation. So,
All right.
yeah, that's a great point. We'll add that to the presentation.
So we need somebody to do a presentation next month, right?
Mm-hmm. So a native or invasive plant for February. Does anyone feel the energy to be that person?
Well, I could volunteer for that if you'll tell me what hadn't been done lately in the last year or two.
Okay. Yeah, we actually that's a great point. We actually have a database that we've been keeping up with all the past presentations, so we can make that available to you, so that
You know,
have
that
that.
reminds me of something. When I read the part of the city code that deals with this board,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a while since I read it, but I think we're charged with the woody plants of the urban forest. Would you all look at that? Because I think, especially in view of this monarch milkweed situation, a forest is not just the big trees and bushes, that we might want to think about asking for an amendment to that. Would y'all look at it and see if it isn't a little restrictive right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure, we can look at that. We'll look at it. I don't recall it
Or talk to the
necessarily.
city attorney and see if it is okay if that's loosely interpreted.
Mhm. Our office has always, I mean, as far as I can think back, we've interpreted the urban forest to be everything from the ground up to the
That's what I
top
would
of the
think.
canopy, you know, because it all plays a role in the conditions of the ecosystem. So,
But everything
good
talks
point. We'll
about
look and see if there's
trees.
anything that
Everything talks
needs to
about
address there.
trees. Everything talks about trees. When you hear a discussion about urban forestry, even though our understanding of it is different, forest is not just the trees, it's, you know, everything down below the
Mhm.
trees. But when you look at what is online or available, it's mostly about trees, as opposed to shrubs, about to flowers, about bushes,
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I
So we-
understand what you're saying, that it might need
We'll check
a
on
little
that for sure. We'll
clarification.
read it and
Well, even the
make
tree
sure.
giveaway, you know, we might want to sometime include something like some milkweeds in that tree giveaway and change it to a plant giveaway, because a person might be more likely to dig a 4-inch hole for a milkweed than a 2-gallon,
pot.
12-foot tall
That's a great
tupelo.
idea.
So let's just look at the code a little bit and see if it's restrictive. But I mean, I got us off topic for who's going to do the next presentation.
I thought Aubrey said he was
Are we
going
going
to
to
do
do
it.
it? Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So is there any other business, any announcements?
Did anyone else have any comments or suggestions on this
I'll try.
for next month? Okay. Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll work with the template that we have from, here's the date, March 10th, 2015. That's when you guys did it.
March 10th?
So,
So it'll be the same time this year?
no.
I think one year we
We'll
did it in
need to-
January, didn't we? Or
We'll need to get a date and get that to you guys. But it'll probably be kind of like winter, within this quarter sometime.
So it's either February or March,
probably.
if we're going to do it, since we are halfway through January.
Mhm. It will not be January.
Yeah.
Nor
Unless Hank
nor
has
December.
a burning desire.
Yes. I'm thinking April. I don't have anything to do in April.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for your feedback on this. And if anyone else has anything, kind of take the next week if you want to do one more look over it, and just email us any other additional comments that come to mind. And then otherwise, we'll start moving forward with the new 2016 draft of this with these notes that we took today. And okay, thank you. And so,
Okay.
yep.
Yes.
I have a comment on the other business or announcements. I think today the city sent out an email about First Fayetteville or Fayetteville First, the new economic development proposal that the city has, and there's a survey attached to it. And I would encourage you all to try to do the survey, because there's a place for comments. And I think the survey a little bit leaves out recognition of the natural beauty of Fayetteville. It doesn't really give a place to let us value that. So the comments would be a section to do that.
Yep.
Because I think that does set us apart from some of the other nearby communities.
That's a great point. Thanks so much for bringing that up. John, do either of you recall, does anyone know the deadline on submittal on those comments? Okay.
The survey
It
takes
just
like
started.
2 seconds.
We'll actually pull that up and email that link out to this whole board
Okay.
so that you can click it on your phone and just fill it out, or however you access the internet. And that's a great point, because there's going to be a variety of different stakeholders from different interests in the community, and it's not just Fayetteville residents. Also, they're out actually, it's my understanding, accepting comment from all of Washington County, Benton County. I mean, outside the city. So, yeah, if you can, make sure your voices are heard as to what you think is important about Fayetteville and the future of this area. Certainly from the perspective of the roles that you play in this room here. So, yeah, great.
How do I end it? I just say we are adjourned? We are adjourned.
Thank you.